Greetings, loved ones. Domestic violence survivors can face ongoing and challenging effects after enduring physical, mental, and emotional abuse. It can take years for a survivor to adjust to living in a safe environment, especially if a perpetrator was severely violent and/or committed the actions over an extended period of time. Today we're going to discuss the effects of domestic violence. It's important to understand how this affects the person and how we can help them. So these trainings are to get the messages out so those who suffer violence can identify their situation and look for help and leave, and for those who don't suffer violence to recognize it in the people around them, because worldwide 1 in 3 women are victims of violence. So please help get these messages out. Subscribe to our channel, follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Hit that like button and share these messages, because you never know, by doing so you could save a life. While addressing the pain of domestic violence can be overwhelming, the healing process can help survivors develop inner strengths and lessen their fear of safety for themselves and their families. On the journey to recovery, survivors and those who support them should understand that healing takes time. The effects of this trauma can vary from person to person due to individuals' responses to stress, age, and the frequency and severity of the abuse that they have suffered. So what are the common physical effects of domestic violence? There are bruises on or around the eyes, on the body, in places where you can't see them, because they like to do it in places that cover up the clothes so nobody knows. Red or purple marks around the neck where they try to be strangled. Sprained or broken wrists because they're grabbing them and twisting them. The victim has chronic fatigue because she's constantly under a great deal of stress. Shortness of breath, muscle tension, involuntary shaking, changes in eating and sleeping patterns, sexual dysfunction, and menstrual cycle or fertility issues in women. There are common effects for the mental status, for the emotional status. So let's talk about what are the common mental effects of domestic violence. Post-traumatic stress disorder, including flashbacks. For example, I'm going to give you an example. Someone maybe years later after violence, a child or a woman who's been beaten, they could be talking with somebody and the person is just like, they talk like this, and when their arms go up, the victim or the survivor goes like this. It's an automatic reaction. They have flashbacks, they have nightmares, they have severe anxiety and uncontrollable thoughts of depression, including prolonged sadness, lots of anxiety, low self-esteem, and questioning their sense of self. Are they any good? Others are suicidal thoughts or attempts to suicide. So if you or someone you know is feeling suicidal, please, in the United States, contact the National Suicide Prevention line. I'll give you the number for that. It's 1-800-273-8255. I'm going to repeat that. The National Suicide Prevention Lifeline in the United States is 1-800-273-8255, or dial 911 for help if you're thinking about suicide. Another response is alcohol and drug abuse to dull the pain that they are feeling. So what are some common emotional and spiritual effects of domestic violence? There's hopelessness that the situation's never going to change. Feeling unworthy, I'm no good, nobody loves me. They're apprehensive and discouraged. You can give them a suggestion and they're like, I just don't think that'll work, I can't do it. They're discouraged about the future. They don't have an ability to trust people because the person they love is abusing them. They also have questioning and doubting about their spiritual faith because of the suffering they're going through. And they're not motivated. They're just hopeless. That's our job, to empower them to redeem their own lives. What are some of the common effects on children who witness domestic violence? Many times children aren't actually the target of the abuse, but they are present during the abuse. They know what's going on. So whether children witness or experience abuse, it can take a toll on their development. Domestic violence victims are not isolated to their intimate partners. Children are at an increased risk for emotional behavioral problems, even if they were directly abused or not. These effects on the children include anxiety. The children are nervous constantly, or maybe they're suffering depression. They have problems in school. Their grades begin to fall. They're not interested in studying, and they're fearful. They don't want to go home. They don't want to be around the person who's abusive. So after listening to all of this, if you're a victim of violence, I want you to listen to me. Please know this, that you are valued. You are loved. You're intelligent, you're beautiful, and God does not want you to suffer violence. He wants you to live free from violence in peace and tranquility. And there is a way out. It's not your fault. Someone who says they love you, but they abuse you, that's not love. There is a way out. So if you're a victim of violence, please reach out to somebody. Find somebody who will help you develop a safety plan and leave. And we're going to talk about safety plans in the future. If you find yourself, if you're in immediate danger, dial 911 for help and get out. For those of you who do not suffer violence, you surely will encounter those who do, because 1 in 3 women worldwide are victims of violence. The question is not if you will encounter a victim of violence. The question before God is, what will you do when you encounter them? You could be the person who saves a life. You are called. We are all called. We are all destined to be champions for justice. Those who suffer violence need to know that those who love them and those who don't even know them will stand up and reach out to them to give them the courage and the help to leave before it's too late. This series is dedicated in honor of Gabby Petito, a bright young woman whom the world has lost because of gender violence. Please check out and support the foundation her family has created in her honor at GabbyPetitoFoundation.org. My husband and I, we are supporting that foundation. So to help get these messages out, the goal is for those who suffer violence to recognize their situation and know how to get help and get out, and for those who don't suffer violence to recognize those who are suffering around them and assist them in leaving. So please subscribe to our channel so you don't miss a single episode. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Hit that like button and share these messages with others in all of your social media outlets, because you never know. Just by doing so, you could save a life. Tomorrow, we're going to talk more about the invisible scars of domestic violence. So until then, God bless you.